Hi, my name is Summer and I am a hypnotist, and I also work in the Akashic Records. And the biggest question I get all the time is, what exactly are the Akashic Records? So first I want to say that whatever I say in this video is my own opinion, my own perception from working in the records for at least 13 years. I've read them for myself for many years before I started working with other people and getting really comfortable doing that. But the first answer I give is always the Akashic Records are your book of life. So in many different books in history, they talk about your book of life. And to me, when they're talking about that, they're talking about the Akashic Records. Now, the Akashic Records aren't a literal book, obviously. It's not like you go to the library, check it out, and here's your book of life. It's got every written description in it from everything from all eternity. But it is actually a metaphysical book, and we use the word book because it has like all the information from anytime and anywhere, really, and that'll come across more as I talk more about it. Now, the word Akashic, when it is translated from Sanskrit, is ether. And ether is really the stillness. It's that space between the astral plane and the earth. It between heaven and earth. All of that space is the location of the Akashic Records. We're constantly pulling it out, and I'll explain more about that later as well. So it is under my understanding that the planet Earth was created to hold the Akashic Records for the entire universe, for source, for whatever it is that you believe in. Created this planet to hold the Akashic Records for all the planets, right? For everything. It is a library, and in my opinion, it is a living library, and humans were put here as the librarians. We are in charge of the records, and because we exist in the universe and on a soul level, we also have our own Akashic Records. Now, because there are infinite possibilities ever of anything, and every possibility is possible, and any time you could have made a decision, it gets fragmented off. Everything, every single possibility from the past and every single possibility from the future is in your records. So when we're reading them, you have to hone in on the energy that is happening right now. So usually when I read, I always ask for guiding questions, because otherwise it's a lot of information to process. So my business partner and I have had this conversation several times about social media and the internet being the manifestation of the Akashic Records. And as you can see, humans, as we discover history and we learn things, we put it online so that other people can learn them, right? So humans have this because we're in the third dimension. The amazing, I don't know what to call it, is amazing ability to want to move everything in the third dimension so that it's better accessible. It's more accessible. It's better understood for more people. So, and really, if you think about it, you know, you can look up anything online, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff online that people think are fiction. And is it fiction, or is it in another galaxy, in another timeline? You know, it's not. So to me, everything is possible, and I believe in everything, and I believe in nothing. And you'll find that out if you're going to stick around and watch these videos. But because of the way that the Akashic Records work, it is 100% believable that humans are now trying to make them into a living library and bring it into manifest, right? It totally makes sense to me. And I'm sure if you go online and whatever you look for is there, you'll see that that is the case. The purpose of our Akashic Records as a soul in a human body is to keep track and assist the soul's personal growth. So we're all down here. We are growing, learning, trying new things. In my head, Source, in my perception, Source sends this channel down here into this body, and I live out this life as Summer, learning what I am meaning to, but this is a whole other video, so I'm not going to get too much into that. So the records do hold all possibilities, every possibility. So when you get a reading, you get what you need for your soul's growth at that time. So sometimes you get a reading and it is, you should do this, and then something is like, oh my God, that was terrible. I wish I hadn't done that. However, if you look back at it, you can go, well, I can see where my soul grew from those experiences. So when I'm getting a nudge to tell someone, I think this is what you need to do next. It's not that it's the best possibility because it's the totally easiest outcome. Because most people don't go, what's the best and easiest outcome? They say, what should I do next? And Spirit is like, well, obviously you should do this because it's going to fast track your learning. You really need to forgive that person and learn some things about boundaries and forgiveness. So I'm going to throw you into here. If you ask the question, what is the easiest and least troublesome thing for me? Number one, they might be like, ha ha ha, I'm not answering. You make it a totally different answer than what is for my highest growth. You just have to know, I'm not growing. It's easy. And that answer is always, well, keep doing what you're doing. You'll keep getting what you're getting, right? You're not making any changes. There's nothing gonna come at you until your soul is like, till Spirit's like, hey, nothing's happening here. I'm gonna get depressed. I'm gonna get sick. I'm gonna shut down your body, because we need to be moving, right? So, to Spirit, nothing is good or bad. It is just an experience. There's no good or bad people. There's nothing you should do or shouldn't do. Everything is perspective. What am I doing for my soul's highest growth? And the highest frequency is love and gratitude. So the question would be, what can I do to move into the highest vibration, right? Well, the highest vibration is love. So let's move into gratitude. And so that makes a huge difference in what do I do next. So I get this a lot too. Who can read the records? And I'm going to tell you, everybody can read the records. We all read them at different times. That little nudge in your intuition is your guides in the records going, hey, I know what you want. This is the way to go. If you get a tarot card reading, they're in your records. It's a little sliver of the records, but you read the energy that your client is giving off and you tell them which direction to go for their highest good from that reading. If you get a warning, it's because you're reading the records and you're like, whoa, that feels really weird. It's why when I do a card reading, I don't give my opinion unless I prerequisite with, this is just my opinion, but you don't have to do it. You can, there's always a possibility. Anybody who is a psychic, is a medium, is any kind of energy healer, they tap into the records, every single one of them. It's just having that I feel confident in these records, or I feel confident in what I do in the records. So I'm also a hypnotist. So in hypnosis, we are working in the ether. We are working with energy, and energy sits in the ether. Energy sits in the Akashic. So if we are going to do a past life regression, I'm pulling you into the Akashic Records along with myself. Now, when I do a past life regression, I can feel the energy as well. I usually feel what's going on, the experiences you are having as well. And I think a lot of workers that, a lot of people who do this kind of work feel it as well, and they either express it or they do not. Because of the manner that I do work, I usually express it, or I ask questions from what I'm feeling. There's no right or wrong way. Everybody gets information differently, right? That's why there's claircognizant, clairvoyance. Some people hear things, some people see things, some people feel things, some people just know things. That ether is what connects us all. So the Akashic Records, it connects us all. It's that little connection that you feel, right? So how can they be used? I use the Akashic Records, as I just said, like all different ways, but I use it to help you create the reality that you want, to get to where you want it in the best possible way, right? The highest possibility, the fastest way, sometimes it's more work and I feel bad. There are so many things that you can do, and if you would like to read your own records, what I would recommend you doing is sitting in your own space and sitting in the ether or the stillness, also called meditation, right? Sometimes you get the stillness by moving, and that's all right as well, right? However, you can get into that stillness. And then the next thing is to trust yourself. The reason we hire out for other people to read our records, read our cards, read the energy, do the healing work is because we don't trust ourselves to get to where we want to be. We don't have that belief that I have everything I need within me. And that's okay. That's why we have each other. I mean, we're living, breathing helpers the Akashic Records literally animates our bodies. So to have that partnership with somebody, to work with them, and where we are right now in the third dimension, it's represented by money or trade. I mean, there's so many different ways to get that, right? Like, I need assistance, I need help, I don't trust myself. And it's all about that self-trust. And sometimes we can go, okay, I trust myself to get this information. And sometimes I'm like, I need some help. I need a little bit of, whatever this specialty is. And that's okay. That's why we're all here, right? So you can access your own records. I had a funny question for me a couple weeks ago. One of my clients said that somebody told them that you could only access your records 3 times. I said, well, then I'm way over my limit. And, that's 100% the case. There's no limit. That's never the case. You can always go into your records. You can go in every day if you want. If you meditate every day, you're going into your records. If you sit and allow the information to come in and trust your intuition, you're going into your records, right? Yeah, so there are so many benefits into going into the records. I'm 100% for creating your own reality and reality creation. And to do that, you would want to use the records. If you have the idea or the thoughts that you could have, be, or do something, it's because they exist in your records somewhere as a possibility that you put into yourself. So you just have to get out of your own way to get there. And that is all that I ever used the records for, or to help you move in the right direction. My specialty, and I don't mean it, I didn't mean to, it just kind of happens to me, is helping people get unstuck from where they are, helping people decide which is the next best possibility, to remove any blocks, anything that's holding them back, to help them with their belief system. That's who usually comes in my direction. And if you do work in any way, you notice that you get more of a certain type of person, because it's your expertise. It's what you're here to guide people to do. And, all of that is because it is in our Akashic Records. A little bit of history about myself, just so you know. I discovered the Akashic Records by accident. I was looking up, I've always been fascinated about past and alternative lives. And I was reading a book and the word Akashic Records came up. And so I looked it up and I became fascinated. And I wanted to learn all of this information and be guided in the right way. So at the time, it was a very long time ago. I'd say it was about 15 years ago. And I was in school. I was an adult in school because I had a child young. And I was sitting in the school parking lot and I opened my records for the first time and it sounded like it was raining. It scared me, so I immediately closed the records and I would not open them up again for about 5 years after that. I would read my own records for about 10 years before I ran a program called the Goddess Empowerment Program. And the hypnosis worked so well that we had a lot of spare time. It was a month-long program. So I was like, well, can I read your records? And then I spent the rest of the month reading these ladies' records. And they loved it so much that they told their friends. So that is how I myself got into reading the records. Everyone loves that little assistance. What do I need to do? And sometimes it's good to get it from another perspective. It's all good. So I hope I answered all of your questions about the Akashic Records. If not, because I tend to talk fast and not know what I talked about, please just leave me a comment below. Like and follow if you like this kind of content, because I'm going to be adding more and more of this type of content and reality creation content and assistance. But if you have any other questions, then please put it below and I will answer it the best that I can. And again, I want to also say again that this is my own opinion. This is from me working with the records, with spirit for the last 15 years on and off in the beginning, and then really diving deep into working with spirit and the record keepers. So sometimes when you're in there, they are very snarky. You get not the record keepers who are very serious. They're very matter of fact. This is one thing I want to say because I think this might come up. The record keepers are very matter of fact. And sometimes you get loved ones. Sometimes like loved ones can't wait. I've had it where I was waiting for my session and I'm immediately getting, I'm so excited. I can't wait to connect with my loved one, right? So like sometimes you get, different entities coming in, their guides, and it's just trusting that you know what's coming in. I do want to say, like, when I first get into the records, I connect and ground. I always clear energy and I connect and ground with my client. And I know I'm in their records because I get a visual. Sometimes it's a flower. Sometimes I open a door or window. Sometimes I literally open a book. And everybody's entrance is completely different. And then I'm like, I'm here. Sometimes it is their loved one that meets me because they were waiting for me and they have some information for their loved one. You know, there's just so many different things that come out when you're doing this work. So again, ask me any questions below. And yeah, this is my first video like this. So if you're catching this, this is my first one, and I will continue having these conversations.